Welcome to Healing with Martin. Join me on a journey of spiritual healing, energy alignment, and inner peace. Together, we'll discover the path to balance and harmony.
Welcome, my friends. Welcome to Healing with Martin. My name is Martin Rock, and I want to begin this journey by saying how deeply grateful I am that you are here. This channel, Healing with Martin, is more than just a collection of videos. It is a sacred space, a space for you to pause, a space for you to breathe, a space for you to reconnect with yourself. Here we will explore healing, we will explore energy, we will explore spirit, and together we will create a path to peace. But before we walk that path together, I want to share my story. Because everything I will ever teach you here, everything I will ever guide you through, comes not from theory, but from lived experience. I believe that stories are medicine, and I believe that by opening my heart to you, you may see a reflection of your own journey. This is not just my story. It is also a reminder that healing is possible for you too. So, my journey begins over 20 years ago. At that time, I experienced one of the most painful events anyone can go through. I lost my father. When my father passed away, my entire world shattered. I felt like the ground beneath me was ripped away. Everything I thought I knew about life suddenly collapsed. If you have ever lost a parent or someone very close to you, you know the kind of emptiness that follows. It is not just sadness. It is a hollow space. It is silence that weighs on your chest. It is waking up each morning remembering they are gone. And you're feeling that ache over and over again. At first, I didn't know how to cope. I felt lost, confused, angry, broken. But grief, as heavy as it is, can also be a doorway. And for me, my father's passing was that doorway into my spiritual journey. So during that time of grief, I was introduced to Reiki. At first, I didn't even understand what Reiki was. It was just a word, just an idea, something people mentioned in quiet spiritual conversations. But when I first experienced Reiki, something inside of me shifted. It was subtle, but it was powerful. I felt warmth in my body. I felt energy moving through me. And for the first time since my father's passing, I felt a glimmer of peace. Reiki became my lifeline. It was my first experience of the spiritual healing. It taught me that we are more than our bodies. That energy flows through all of us, that love, the bond between souls, never truly dies. Through Reiki, I realized something profound. My father was still with me, not in a physical sense, but in energy and in spirit, in love. Reiki showed me that death is not the end, that energy cannot be destroyed, that love continues even when the body is gone. And slowly, very slowly, my heart began to mend. So now I want to pause here because maybe you're watching at this and maybe you have lost someone too. Maybe you are carrying grief. Maybe you're carrying weight of loss. So I want to invite you to take a moment with me. Close your eyes if you feel safe. Take a slow, deep breath in. Exhale gently. Bring to mind someone you have loved and lost. See their face, hear their voice, feel their presence, and now allow yourself to notice that love is still here, that energy is still alive, that bond is unbreakable. This is the truth of healing. We do not lose love, we only transform. After my father's passing, Reiki became the first seed planted in my soul. It opened me to the idea that there is more to life than what we can see. It opened me to the idea that unseen world is just as real as the seen. And though it took me many years to fully embrace this path, I now see clearly that this was the beginning of my journey. For a long time after, I continued to live my life. I worked, I tried to be normal, and I tried to carry on. But that seed was always there. That first spark of energy, that first awareness of spirit. It was waiting. It was guiding me. It was leading me slowly toward the path I was meant to walk. This is how my healing journey began, through pain, through grief, through loss, but also through light, through love, through energy. My father's passing was not just an ending, it was also a beginning. And as much as it hurt, I can now look back and see that it was the first step on the path that brought me here. So from the moment that I was a child, I knew that there was something different about me. I had experiences that I didn't talk about very often. I would sense things that others didn't sense. I would see shadows or lights out of the corner of my eye, and I would hear voices in my mind that were not my own. And sometimes I would dream of things before they happened. When I was young, I didn't have the language for this. I Didn't know words like clairaudience, intuition, or mediumship. All I knew was that sometimes the world felt bigger than it looked. And sometimes I felt like I was walking alone. But when you're a child, you want to fit in. So you want to be normal. And when you tell people that you see or feel things that they don't, it can make you feel isolated. So I pushed it down and I told myself it was imagination. I told myself it wasn't real. Still, the experiences kept happening. As I got older, I would sometimes know what someone was going to say even before they spoke, you know, and I would walk into a room and feel heavy energy, like sadness or anger, even when everyone was smiling. And sometimes when I was alone, I would feel presence, as though someone was standing with me. I couldn't explain it, but I couldn't deny it either. So for years, I tried to ignore it. I focused on my life, on work, and on the things that the world tells us are important. But Spirit has a way of waiting. It does not force itself, it whispers, it nudges, it leaves signs, and it waits for us to finally pay attention. In 2019, I could no longer ignore it. That was the year my spiritual senses became too strong to push aside. I began noticing repeating numbers, like everywhere, like 1111, 333, 444, numbers that seemed to follow me, showing up on clocks, receipts, addresses, and license plates. I started having dreams that felt more like messages than imagination. I began to feel presences not just near me, but communicating with me. And I realized this isn't random. This is real. This is spirit. So in 2019, I made a choice. Instead of ignoring it, I leaned in. I began journaling my dreams. I meditated daily. I practiced grounding and energy clearing. I started writing down the messages I was receiving, even if they didn't make sense at first. And the more I paid attention, the stronger the connection became. Spirit is like a friend. When you ignore it, it whispers softly, but when you listen, it opens up. And in 2019, the floodgates opened. I began receiving guidance, clear, undeniable guidance. I felt the presence of my Father. I felt angels. I felt spirit guides. It was as though the universe was speaking directly to me. And slowly, I began to trust it. I realized that all those experiences from childhood, all the things I thought were just imagination, were actually training. It was preparation. It was Spirit gently teaching me to trust the unseen. And when I finally said yes, and when I finally opened the door, I felt myself step into alignment. Now I want to pause here because maybe you've had similar experiences. Maybe you've had dreams that came true. Maybe you felt a presence when you were alone. Maybe you've seen signs, numbers, feathers, songs, things that felt too perfect to be coincidence. And maybe, like me, you've brushed them off. If that's you, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something important. You are not imagining it. You are not crazy. You are awakening. The spirit world is real and it is speaking to you. The question is, are you ready to listen? So for me, 2019 was the year that I said yes. It was the year that I stopped ignoring and started trusting. It was the year that I stopped doubting and started receiving. And that decision changed everything. From that point on, Spirit became my teacher. I was guided to books, teachers, practices. I was guided into moments of healing that I didn't even know I needed. And I began to realize something profound. We are never alone. We are always guided, always supported, always loved. Now, I want to invite you into practice. So take a deep breath with me. Inhale slowly. Hold. And exhale gently. Now, bring to mind a recent moment in your life that felt like more than a coincidence. Maybe it was a sign. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe it was a person who showed up at exactly the right time. Feel into that memory. Allow yourself to acknowledge it. That was not random. That was spirit. And if you pay attention, you will see that spirit is always speaking to you. So 2019 became the turning point for me. It was the year I truly woke up, the year I realized my lifelong sensitivity was not a burden, it was a gift. And that gift was preparing me for what was to come. Because just 2 years later, in year 2021, I would face the most profound experience of my life. A near-death experience that would change me forever. In 2021, the world was in chaos. The pandemic has shaken all of us. Life felt uncertain, fragile, and heavy. And during that time, my own life was pushed to the edge. I became gravely ill, so ill in fact, that I crossed the boundary between life and death. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Yes, I died 3 times, and I was brought back 3 times. This was not just a physical crisis, it was a spiritual initiation, an experience that forever transformed the way that I see life, death, and healing. Let me take you there. The first time it happened, I felt my body shutting down. I felt the breath leave my chest, and then silence. But in that silence, there was no fear, no panic, no suffering. Instead, there was a light brighter than the sun, but softer than a candle flame. A light that wrapped around me embraced me, welcomed me home. I cannot fully describe it because human words are too small, but I will try anyways. It felt like love, pure, unconditional love. A love so vast that it erased every wound I had ever carried. I felt free. I felt whole. I felt eternal. And I wasn't alone. I saw glimpses of my father. I felt his presence, warm and familiar. I also felt the presence of other loved ones who had passed, and I felt beings of light, angels, guides, and guardians. They didn't speak in words, but I understood them. And their message was simple. You are safe. You are loved. You are eternal. But then I was pulled back into my body, back into pain, back into the struggle of illness. And yet, I knew something had changed. It happened again, a second time. Once more, I left. Once more, I felt the peace, the light, the love. Once more, I felt that sense of home. And once more, I returned. The third time, I felt the same. Light, peace, love. But also a knowing, a clarity. This time I understood I was being shown what waits beyond. But I was also being reminded that my work here was not yet done. And the experiences I had was also beyond words. And I'm actually writing a book about it, which eventually you'll be able to read about everything that has happened. Coming back was not easy. My body was weak. My lungs burned. Every movement felt heavy. I had to learn how to walk and eat all over again. Simply, my spirit was shaken. I felt fragile, like a glass vase cracked but glued back together. But within that fragility, there was strength. Because I knew now what most people only wonder about. I knew that life does not end. I knew that we are eternal. I knew that love is the fabric of the universe. Now I want to pause with you here, because maybe you lost someone that you love. Maybe you wonder if they are okay. Maybe you wonder what happens after death. So I want you to take a breath. Inhale slowly. And exhale gently. And hear me when I say this. They are okay. They are at peace. They are surrounded by love. And one day you will see them again. My near-death experience was not just about me. It was a gift, a reminder to share with you, because we spend so much of our lives afraid of death, afraid of endings, afraid of letting go. But death is not the end. It is a doorway, a return to love, a return to light, a return to truth. When I came back the third time, I carried this truth with me. I could no longer live the way I had before. I could no longer pretend that life was ordinary. I could no longer deny my calling. I knew I had been sent back for a reason, and that reason was not to suffer. It was not to hide. It was to serve. It was to heal. It was to help others remember who they truly are. That was the gift of dying 3 times. It stripped away all illusions. It reminded me that love is everything, and it gave me clarity about my path. Now, I invite you once again into reflection. So close your eyes and take a breath. Exhale. Imagine yourself surrounded by golden light. Feel it wrapping around your body. Feel it filling your heart. Feel it shining through every cell of your being. This light is not imagination. It is real. It is spirit. It is the same light I saw when I crossed over. And it is always here for you. So 2021 became the most profound year of my life. It was the year I died. It was the year I lived again. It was the year I understood my true mission. And though coming back was hard, I would not change it, because it gave me the gift of clarity, and it gave me the courage to fully step onto my true path. When I returned from my near-death experience, I didn't come back the same. Yes, I was alive. Yes, I was breathing. Yes, I had been given another chance. But my body was weak. My energy was fragile. And my spirit was shaken to its core. The truth is, coming back from death is not simple. It is not like waking up from a dream and moving on with your day. It is more like being reborn, and with rebirth comes struggle. I had to learn how to live again, how to trust again, how to rebuild myself piece by piece. At first, it was difficult. I felt broken. I felt uncertain. I felt like I no longer fit into the world around me. Because once you've seen the light, once you felt the truth of spirit, you cannot go back to pretending that life is just ordinary. Everything changes. There were days that I cried, days I doubted, days I wondered why was I sent back? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with this gift? But every time I asked, Spirit answered. Not always with words, but with signs, with synchronicities, with the quiet whisper of intuition. And slowly, the pieces began to come together. I began to see that my hardships were not punishments, they were initiations. Every loss, every challenge, every struggle was shaping me, carving me, refining me, preparing me for the path that I was always meant to walk. So I leaned deeper into my practices. I returned to Reiki, but with a new depth. It was no longer just a healing tool, it was a way of life. I meditated daily, not just to calm my mind, but to connect to spirit, to align with my purpose, to remember why I came back. I studied, I practiced, I grew, and with each step I felt myself becoming stronger, more grounded, more certain. But even more than that, I felt my heart expanding because I realized this journey was not just about me. I was not brought back just to rebuild my own life. I was brought back to help others rebuild theirs. That was the turning point. The moment that I realized my story was not mine alone, it was the story meant to be shared. A story that could bring comfort to someone in grief. A story that could bring hope to someone in despair. A story that could inspire someone to reconnect with their own spirit. And so, slowly, the vision for Healing with Martin was born. I knew I needed to create a space, a community, a home for healing. Not just a channel, not just videos, but a sanctuary, a place where people could come to learn to grow, to heal, and to remember their own light. Here, I share what I have learned, guided meditations to calm your mind, to open your heart and to reconnect with your soul, energy healing practices to clear blockages, to align your chakras, and to restore balance to your body and spirit. And also spiritual teachings about love, about presence, about awakening, about the truth of who we are. But most importantly, I share this. You are not alone. No matter what you've been through, no matter how heavy your burdens are, no matter how broken you may feel, you are never too far gone to heal. You are never too lost to be found. You are never too broken to be whole again. I know this because I lived it. I faced grief. I ignored spirit. I died 3 times and I came back. And if I can rebuild, so can you. So, Healing with Martin is not just my channel, it is our channel. It is our community. Together, we walk this path. Together, we heal. So, now before we close, I want to leave you with a blessing. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. Exhale gently. Imagine a golden light above your head. See it pouring down through your body, filling your heart, calming your mind, restoring your spirit. This is the light of healing. It is within you. It has always been within you. Carry it with you. Trust it. Live by it. Thank you for listening to my story, and thank you for allowing me to open my heart to you. If my journey resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to Healing with Martin. Join this community of light and let us walk together on the path of healing, transformation, and of peace. Remember always, spiritual healing, energy alignment, and inner peace. Until next time, may you be blessed, may you be peaceful, and may your spirit shine. Namaste.